doing such an effective job of zoning him, even though Misko's over in the lane. Misko, interesting to note, has not gone Gale whatsoever, and as a result, you're not seeing a lot of harassment other than the form of wards kind of coming down, and it's not doing too much. It's really just causing for minor disruption to happen. They have good vision, but they already have an Enigma in the jungle, so I'm not sure how pertinent it is. Mihawk activated a haste rune, headed towards mid lane, wasn't able to lock down the Invoker, and so God's Hand will be in no danger, and Mihawk is out of lane while Andrew Riley is afforded a few brief moments of free farm with Chen just over on the hill, Mihawk attempting to D-ward, but the Obs is actually on the other side of the river, so no chance of that there.
The
and
good
things
part
just settled in the farm.
Nyx going to the lane, to the jungle now, is that now you have the Venomancer in the lane. He can get some levels now, and after that he can start getting some points, at least 1 point into Venomous Scale. That's really all you need. It's the 50% slow that does so much when you're doing a gank. Mid lane, just look at this harassment going back and forth. They're gonna trade blows, but ooh, a really nice haze, but it doesn't matter. First blood does go to Wild. Invoker picks that up, almost goes down. If we had any global spells other than Rocket on this team, this Invoker would be dead, but I don't think Rocket's gonna be able to kill him off here.
Really well placed. I have to say, I like Wild's draft a lot better based on what I'm seeing. I think it's very justify Shadow Fiend mid lane, in my opinion. I don't think they could have laned this any differently, though, so they would have had to rely on Venomancer roaming a lot more, and I thought he was going to be mobile. Don't you feel like Gale and roaming on an Invoker mid may have been a more effective strategy, per se? Because I don't think they did this wrong. I think the skill build just may be a little bit incorrect for at least my tastes.
Well, you have to take into consideration that Nyx would be in the lane alone. Could he survive? And actually, hold on, as Nero is taking a lot of harassment here. They're actually going for the kill, even without Venomous Scale. Actually, Venomous Scales was used. It was leveled. The one-man black hole goes on Theory, and he goes down as well. Some nice payback out of revenge on this top lane. They take down both, and just when I was saying that, I don't think they were going to be going for the kills. They got the level 6 on Masoku, and they put a point to the Venomous Scale, and those two alone were enough to take down 2 heroes.
He had just actually leveled up to level 5, able to get level 1 and initiate that fight, but really good bite back from Revenge, showing some tenacity there on that team fight. Poured in on top of 3 right now for Theory, not able to do much as Eidolons and the wards will not adhere to the normal aggro mechanics, so he's forced to just try and damage these wards, which are already level 3. And chipping away at the tower, if you will, down a little bit over a third, headed towards half, and they're really making an effort to at least keep this lane back for a little bit longer. The more time that they can afford Benjaz to farm up, the better their team fight overall is going to be. They don't have a very strong Shadow Fiend over on the mid side, who is 31 for 7 against an Invoker who's 29 for 18, and it's those denies that are the difference maker in that particular matchup in mid.
Towers should fall really easily for Revenge. You do the Plague Wards, you have the Enigmas, Eidolons, and then you also have just the right-click damage from Shadow Fiend, who can take down towers pretty effectively as well. There's not a whole lot of AoE to kind of just burn down these waves and burn down the Eidolons. Timbersaw can do it, Invoker can do it, but up on the top lane, the Viper and the Abaddon, they kind of have a hard time dealing with that, dealing with the wards, dealing with the Eidolons. So as a result, the tower did get down to half HP, but for the meantime, it's going to be alright. We are waiting for Enigma to continue farming the woods, but ever, he's getting pretty close to his mech, and that early mech that you can get on an Enigma when he's jungling and not rushing a Blink Dagger is so effective for a team.
Already, ping's coming out right now. Smash in a lot of trouble, and Smash actually trying to lock it down, not able to deal enough damage. As you see, he's drinking up his way back to hell, so Godhands unable to do anything. Naix Bomb, though, comes down on Godhands, who's in a ton of trouble, and therefore Benjaz, Mihawk, and Smash all able to attain at least some golden experience on that exchange on the mid side.
Yeah, really great fight out of them. You know, that's just the power of a Clockwork, as he can get in there. The hook shot is such long range, and Invoker couldn't expect it. He didn't even have time to really react to try and get Ghost Walk queued up or anything like that. And mid tower taking quite a beating, and Ben Jazz is there as well. He's got his phase boots. He's got 1k in the bank as well. But they do have to back off. They can't overextend here. They know they're going to be getting that top tower here pretty shortly with the Plague Wards, the creep pushing on through, as well as the Eidolons. That TP is coming forth. It's going to be in the form of Invoker. He's going to try and make some damage happen with Nero and Theory here as Masoku. He goes down, Cyclone up in the air just to delay the inevitable, and he does go down in the long run. For the cost of a tower, though, the tower... It doesn't go anywhere. You know, you get a hero kill and that's great. That's plus on the board. But these towers, they're always going to be there and they're always going to have a chance to get taken down at some point of the game. So I don't know if that was quite a trade because the top tower was so hurt. They probably could have just finished it off with the Eidolons.
You have to remember bottom tower at the same time was taken down, and therefore they traded 1-for-1 on towers, and they got 1-0 on a kill. So good advantage here for Wild. And taking a look on that note at the golden experience graphs, still relatively even, if not dead even, with Invoker throwing out another EMP. Misko in a lot of trouble, just going to go down as a result to Andrew, not quite giving the kill to God's Hand, and I think that was his intended purpose. But at the same time, Viper taken down by Mihawk and Benjaz, and Mihawk just landing hook shots left and right. That's 2 in a row for him with Naix bombs, both expend.
Yeah, it's an interesting game so far. A lot of heroes congregating in the mid lane for Wild, though. They're looking to push this tower. Like you said, they didn't quite make the, or Revenge didn't quite make the best trade in the tower trade there. But Wild is going to try and get a tower without trading a tower. Bottom tower is still pretty full HP, so it's fine, but a mid-fight is going to start to happen here. Wild, rightfully so, backing up. Net goes down on Benjaz, and these chin creeps are going to get eaten up. Andrew, he wants to be on the front lines. He is tanky with 2 points into that reactive armor. Look at him go for it. Timber chains in, into a rolling death. Chakram is doing a lot of damage to Mihawk, and it comes back, does even more. Benjaz falls in the process as well, and now this tower will definitely fall as 2 for Revenge go down.
I'm not sure why that was initiated in that particular order. In my opinion, Revenge didn't have a leg to stand on. They had 2 very key ultimates down at the time, and Mihawk having his actual hook shot down, and Benjaz not having Infest, which could have potentially regenerated himself to full, but that would have been provided he had avoided the EMP, which he did not. So he was out of mana regardless. It is a relatively inexpensive spell, and he doesn't have a wand or anything to jolt himself up. But what a critical mistake to make so early on. 2 tier 2s and a 4-man down, if I counted that correctly. I can't exactly see numbers right now. I have a huge bug and I'm going to need to reboot, so that's unfortunate. But still a huge loss for Revenge nonetheless, and 2 tier 2s in one fell swoop and a lost team fight immediately thereafter.
Wild is really playing to their strength. They have really good early game heroes. Timber excels really well in the early game, and he had such a decent laning phase too that he's ready to get fired off in this early part of the game. Invoker can excel early on. Viper, Chin, Abaddon, all the same story.
Is this really going to avoid this right now? He's just wandering in no man's land. He was 1 hit away. Finally, Andrew able to sniff him out. Misko in trouble. Tries to buy a port. Does he even have enough mana? No, he does not. But I can't read numbers, so it didn't look like it. I'm just going to say he had like 40 mana because that's kind of what read on my screen, and I'm going to assume I'm correct. Meanwhile, Revenge looking to push in on mid lane with these Eidolons. Should get the tower as a result. Deny missed by the Chen creep, so no such luck for Wild there to save the gold loss.
Shadow Fiend needs farm. He has the Hand of Midas, which is going to help him out. Benjaz also needs to farm, and when you see Wild pushing these early towers, it forces Revenge's hand. They've got to fight, they've got to pull their heroes back, and they can't, and now Benjaz on the top lane, forced to pop the rage and run out of this situation. It was starting to get pretty hairy with 3 heroes kind of converging in on him, so rightfully so, getting out of there, knew he wasn't safe to continue farming, but Revenge, they've got to kind of play a little more careful, a little more closer to base, but Masoku pushing deep. The Cyclone does miss him, unfortunately. Mihawk there for the support. Masoku possibly going in, runs out of mana from the EMP, so he cannot Black Hole, but now Invoker might be in trouble. He is. Mihawk manages to take him down with the help of the Eidolons, so another 1-for-1 trade, and Black Hole was not expended there, so if that was expended, I think that would have been a much bigger deal, but it is ready to be fired off in the next fight. And again, on this top lane, look at Benjaz just kind of running right into the fray of 3 heroes and not caring whatsoever. Mistco up here on the top lane, hoping to support Benjaz out if he gets dove on. And Andrew, he's playing with fire up here, but he's got supports nearby. But do they really want to dive into this tower with Enigma spawning in another 3 seconds? He has a TP ready as well, so he can just jump right to this tower, fire off that black hole, and then it could go really south for Wild. So they're gonna have to play it right here on this top lane and make sure they're gonna jump into a situation that they can win.
You know, I was about to get caught up in saying that Andrew had a ton of net worth and more than likely was game leading and was able to take a dive such as what we're looking at on this top tower. But looking at the graph, Shadow Fiend has done a phenomenal job with Smash at the helm, trying to inch his way back into the game. He's at 6,800, 6,900 right now. Good shield up as Benjaz tries to initiate on Andrew. The Aphotic shield affording him some leeway in at least getting things going. And their team will, as a result, Wild pushing on this tier 1 tower. Eidolon's coming to try and shore things up, but the point I was going to make is the fact that Smash is still in this game is kind of astounding to me. I know he has Shadow Rays to blitz down a few waves, but I don't feel like he's been doing all that much farming, especially after those losses and casualties that Revenge had suffered in mid.
He's at 92, which isn't terrible. He's kind of been forced to a few of these towers to try and defend against it. He does have them hand Midas to try and help get him back into the farming game. But he has boots of travel. He's fast, yes, but he's still incredibly squishy, and he does pack a powerful punch, sitting at basically double damage right now with the plus 75. But that's going to have to be a different story for another time, because we do have a Roche attempt going down while a smoke is also going down for Wild, and they might just sneak around here. Luckily for them, Masuku is going to spot them out and reveal the smoke, so this Roshan might just be finished up, or they can come to the aid of Masuku. He's going to go ahead, fire out the black hole, tries to buy time, but meanwhile, Mihawk gets spotted out by Invoker, and the Roche is out of the bag. He's going to have to back up into his Roche pit as Revenge back out of this attempt entirely, and Wild snoops in. They might be able to get this with Enigma down.
That's a huge concession. Yeah,
no
what
way.
a huge concession from Revenge to concede this Roshan. They are down almost all of their outer towers here. They have 2 tier 2s remaining, and understandably, Wild needs to finish this game on a particular timetable in order to get it done on time. They have to face down both Lifestealer as well as Shadow Fiend. Even a Clockwork late game is not something you want to necessarily face down when combined into that combination. So Wild needs to get it done, and this plays right into their favor. They give away a Roshan, and what a wonderful gift to receive there, as well as an Enigma for their troubles. Even Black Hole to be on cooldown for as long as it's going to be, another 2 minutes that they could potentially push not into one of the most detrimental 5-man team ults in the entire game.
Yeah, Revenge, I feel like they can defend pretty well. They will have to turtle it up while still trying to get the Nakes and the Shadow Fiend farmed up. But
Well,
I feel like the...
real quick to that point, look at Shadow Fiend's items. That is my lead concern, is he has no survivability. He's not the casual, tank build in Helm of the Dominator. So I think it's...
Yeah.
So do you still agree on that assessment with looking at Shadow Fiend's items?
I feel like the Blink Dagger isn't going to help him. If Wild plays to their strengths and they start pushing down the high ground, then I don't think that Blink Dagger is going to help. I really agree with you that he does need to kind of be a little more defensive and try and at least live through these fights so that he can dish out the damage he needs to. But Revenge does pop a smoke of their own and head to the bottom lane, and the teams are just kind of opposite of each other right now. We have the Radiant pushing the top side, the Dire pushing the bottom side, but it's Revenge to lose this. They have to TP back. I don't think they can afford to go up against this push race with Wild.
Especially against the Chen, Futze, sorry, actually playing it quite well. Andrew back to defend. Tier 2 on bottom side for the Radiant. It's going low, and he's just trying to pull the wave back with the Chakram, doing an effective job of clearing away most all the creeps as Mihawk tries to defend. Another port coming from Nero, who can't really challenge much of anything. Just forces off Revenge, and Revenge actually back up as a result. I know he had his ultimate up, but they lose a tier 2 for naught, and had the capacity, in my opinion, to engage and elected not to. I'm kind of surprised.
I don't know. It would have been on a Timber Saw, and I think it would have taken too long for them to take him down. They didn't have the Black Hole available yet. They knew that everybody else was coming in from Wild side, so I think it was a little too much risk for the reward that they would have gotten for it. But Masoku might get caught out here. Invoker goes in. Can't actually single him out, but Shredder, Timbersaw rather, hot on his heels. Mech goes off from Masoku. Mihawk gonna push back Invoker, but Viper in the backfield catches Mihawk out. Andrew O'Reilly with a really good
Jesus
body
Christ.
block. That was good.
That whole play, right? That Timber Chain across to the Ancients, being able to catch up to the other team. Gotham was taken out of it by a great play by Mihawk, but I mean, Andrew just kind of played out of his mind right there. In theory, there to back him up in terms of damage. He's having such a good game and already engaged on Smash over at the Radiant Secret Shop. Smash forced away to TP, and it looks like he's going to get the kill in time. And that speaks of exactly what we were just talking about. Shadowfiend doesn't have the item. Smash can't go toe-to-toe with someone like Andrew Riley, especially when he steals statistics that he does not have the ability to give away against, Timber's Whirling Death.
Yeah, the stats plus the pure damage with Shadowfiend already being so low HP, there is no chance for him whatsoever. And I'm actually kind of surprised even Enigma made it out of there alive, but his Blink Dagger kind of saved him there. But they're closing in on them from all fronts, so I'm kind of surprised it was only the Shadowfiend that got taken down. But you don't want that to be happening. That can't be happening for Revenge. They can't be losing their Shadowfiend like that. And already he's sitting at 1-2-0. His farm is alright at 128, but it's got to be more. There's got to be more farm out of Shadowfiend, as well as the Nakes, if they want to have any chance of standing up against Wild. But I feel like there's got to be more from Wild. They have to keep up this pressure on Revenge.
Just as you say that, Andrew Riley is sitting here with a Bloodstone and Boots of Travel, and that farm is so much more effective. It's almost like inflated net worth on the side of Shadowfiend to have two items that are going to potentially earn him a greater amount of farm or team fight initiation on this side of the Blink Dagger, rather than the actual pure farm that Andrew has in something like this early of a Bloodstone with this many stacks. You're talking about 10 stacks, 21 minutes in. He's a very unstoppable force. Again, initiating here on Smash. Not able to catch him in the chakram just yet, but could potentially cause some problems in a moment if he lingers around the lane. And Andrew actually just following along the creeps isn't going to spot him out. And as a result, it takes him a while, and he Whirling Deaths down the trees to make sure he's not hiding away, and he's able to clear off some more. So, that's a scary force to have roaming down on you in a lane, is the point I was trying to make there. And the farm is very inflated on the side of Revenge, and Wall Midas is a great item to kind of snowball your farm forward and propel you into the next level of experience so you can have that edge on opponents. He's not really being afforded those opportunities, and as a result, he has 2K stagnant on his net worth, actually more like 4K stagnant on that net worth. And if you were to scale that back, he's sitting more like 6K versus the 9.7K plus Bloodstone charges. What are those worth against someone like Andrew Riley? All of this being said, Wild still needs the 5-man push, in my opinion, to get this done. They can't afford opportunities for Revenge to get back in.
Yeah, the later it gets, the scarier it gets for Wild. And even now at this point in the game, even though Wild is in the lead, one well-placed team fight out of Revenge can get them back into this pretty easily. Now, we see the smoke looping around, might actually catch Binjaz out alone, but no, they're heading straight to the top. They see Masoku. They didn't see the Nakes, but Masoku, he blinks out of there. He does remain safe. He spots out the smoke, and as a result, everybody from Revenge is going to be safe for the meantime. And that kind of mess up there, not really even a mess up, but just map awareness from Revenge, backing up and not allowing a kill, allowed the rest of the team on bottom to get the tower there. So now they can get this tower TP packed. There are TPs on both Smash and Mihawk, so they're going to head back to the base because they've got to defend this.
Aegis expired prior to this fight for Wild, going on in Tier 3 under a lot of duress right now, as a Wild Wing is not making it easy for them to get in and initiate this. Masoku, needing a huge black hole here, already has Blink Dagger forced off of the actual cooldown, so he's not going to be able to pop in here, and the Tier 3 is just taking so much damage, but they are looking to trade. God's Hand is forced back on the bottom side. Half health is their Tier 3, and they need to come back to defend. So they recognize that fact, and Wild are forced to back away due to some great effort out of Mihawk, who's actually probably played the best out of anyone on this Revenge squad for this particular game, I would say.
Yeah, he had some really good early kind of ganks going on and whatnot, so that helped out a lot. In terms of lacking, we didn't see very much from Venomancer early on, and Venomancer is such an early game hero that I felt like Misko didn't play to his strengths too much. So we probably could have seen a little more out of him, but the opportunity wasn't really there. We needed to see a lot of farm on the Nakes and the Shadowfiend, and as a result of that, there wasn't a whole lot of roaming and ganking going on from Revenge at that point. But like you said, Mihawk playing good, and the thing about Clockwork is he never really falls off throughout the game. That's the same with the Venomancer. Venomancer always has his ultimate to throw out in these team fights, and Mihawk, as the Clockwork, will always have that hookshot to initiate. So they're all very solid heroes, and now that the Blink Dagger is available on the Enigma, and he has that level 2 black hole, we could see a good black hole, but it also kind of falls on Wild's shoulders to make sure that they're not grouped up in these team fights and that Black
Bot
Hole
side
cannot
now.
hit all of them.
Going toe-to-toe with Andrew Riley, in a bit of trouble for himself if Andrew can manage to continue this pressure. Enigma there to back him up, though. Masoku taking a lot of damage himself. Andrew's not in bad straits, but a third party has joined now. Smash joining in. Chen ultimate not enough to keep Andrew up, and no bounce back from his team to get anything taken care of. This forces Mihawk over to the well, which is not a bad situation per se for the Revenge side, as they will be able to defend top, which Wild is attempting to crash down upon. But as a result, look at all these Eidolons again on bottom. You have Smash there. He's got a decent soul count right now to challenge this. He's sitting on 36 and damage forthcoming, but they're going to look to trade. So Wild going in, Mihawk throwing up battery assault, trying to get in, already having his health almost immediately. What a huge amount of damage to put out from that Wild squad. That was rather unexpected, at least from me, to get that done. And you even see Benjaz cutting the lane to make sure no further creep support has come this entire time for Wild on top, and therefore their push ends when the creep wave does, and it has indeed ended, and they're forced to go and respond to what Benjaz is doing over in lane, unfortunately.
You know, with Shadow Fiend TPing to the bottom lane to help secure that kill down there, it meant that his boosted travels were not available to come back to the base to defend. And while that seems like that would have been a really good thing for Wild, it wasn't. It didn't matter. Shadow Fiend was strong enough to continue pushing the bottom lane, so it was actually kind of detrimental towards them because they had to deal with the Shadow Fiend on bottom, they had to deal with the Nakes on top, and meanwhile the other 3 heroes were able to defend top against the 4 heroes that were pushing top. So at this point in the game, I think we might start to see a kind of sway going now into Revenge's favor. And looking at the gold graphs, it is doing just that. The XP graphs are doing that as well. So at this point in the game ever, it starts to get really scary for Wild. And now Andrew on the bottom lane meets with Smash again. Mihawk in the backfield goes in with a hook shot, successfully connects to him, and Andrew's in some trouble. He gets out of there with his own Timber Chain, but Abaddon there to help save the day. But there are so many enemy heroes nearby in the river where we have a fight between Theory and Masoku. Black Hole goes down, catches Theory as well as Futsa, who gets in there with a Force Staff. Theory's gonna go down, pops the BKB as well as the mech, but it does not save him. And now Revenge, they got their kill. They're gonna try and make it out here alive, but it's not gonna work too well. Hops into Masoku, he blinks away. The blink dagger was not on cooldown or not disabled at all, so both of them survive through that. They get their kill and they get out. Now Mihawk, he has to survive for this to be a successful win for Revenge, and the cogs enable him to do just that.
All these little plays are just adding up. We've only seen 17 kills in a 27-minute game, and this just is a great example of how high quality of a game we're experiencing right now. The only disappointment I would say I have thus far is while Wild has been doing well in the team fights, I think there was about a 5-minute window, I want to say from the 18 to about 23-minute marker, that they should have pushed to close out as quickly as possible and 5-man Dota'd a little bit harder, and they hesitated. And as a result of that hesitation, you see Revenge making cute little plays like this that are going to in fact buy them time back into the game. In terms of items, you're looking at Lifestealer that already has 3 core items up. He has Basher to lock down, Armlet to increase health and toggle away in team fights. It also couples with his Rage ability to increase his attack speed, and you're getting results on fights like right now that is evolving against Andrew. He gets ripped up, able to Timber Chain away to safety so that Lifestealer couldn't start wailing on him, and Wild is looking to counter here before I can even finish talking about items. The one thing I was going to mention is that Chen does not have a mech. You saw Ags get finished up on Invoker, so his potential for damage is that much greater. Smoke up here. Good catch right now against Benjaz, forcing him to rage away so he doesn't lose all his mana to the EMP, and now he's going to port. Do they have enough damage to finish off? And it looks like the answer is no, and another Avatar port in a BKB instead of the rage this time on Masoku allows him the opportunity to get away with Mihawk. The only member left behind has a port up, but maybe is checking out his ability to get a pick, but instead elects that his opportunity is not good and ports back to base. He's even got 2,800 banked up, so item bounce back on Revenge is that Shadow Fiend went Dagon. Not sure I agree with that. Black King Bar is finished up on Smash, though, and Venomancer finally contributing a little bit. He's their hard support, so he's not going to show much, but he has an Oblivion Staff, is going for Orchid. Grabbed the recipe prior to the second staff, which is interesting to note.
The Dagon might have been picked up to just burst down the chin. Like you say, he doesn't have the mech. The mech is on the Viper. And if you get the chin out before you can pop Hand of God, that's a lot of heal that's missing for Wild when they push down. So maybe that's kind of the thought process for going the Dagon, was just to try and burst down that chin as fast as possible. And Revenge have so much damage. They have burst damage, they have damage over time. And then you look at Wild. They don't have that. They don't have that hard, solid carry that's going to be packing a powerful punch. And at this point in the game, it gets very scary because you do need that. Benjaz on the bottom lane. Are they scared to go on him? No, they're not. They're going to try, but the team isn't quite nearby to help him out. But Rage and TP successful once again. It's foolproof. It's such a foolproof strategy when you don't have someone like, say, a Beastmaster, somebody who can stop that TP through Rage. And what is Theory doing? He's on the bottom lane. He's caught out all alone. He has a TP as well, but he's just going to man up. The team is close enough nearby. Cyclone goes out, catches two. Masoko, he has the black hole. He catches two of his own as well, but there's no follow-up. Misko, he's out of this fight already. Smash finally gets in there, throws out his ultimate, deals lots of damage, and there goes the burst down on Chin. He's out of the fight. Mihawk, as well as Benjaz, bursting down Theory. Theory's trying to fight back, but it's just not enough. Look at this right-click damage out of Smash. He is just taking everybody down.
Andrew not able to be there was a huge difference maker. You have so much gold flux going towards Revenge now. I think it might be impossible for them to battle back in this particular game one. It is a best of 3 series, but I accidentally had muted my mic when I was trying to point out the fact that they're running such insane lane disruption. It's unreal the amount of times that you've seen Smash behind enemy lines, as well as this lifestealer in Benjaz just sitting there blitzing down waves, not affording Wild opportunities to push into the base as you would normally see. And Wild don't seem to have a response to the strategy. It's not that I think that it's necessarily a great strategy in terms of keeping, the enemy from entering your base. I think it's easily counterable as long as your team is paying enough attention, but I don't think Wild expected it, and therefore we're seeing the result that we're seeing. Revenge has now efficiently edged their way back into the game. They're not letting any lanes whatsoever push in, and they're going to be able to turtle until the 40-minute marker when they clearly, based on heroes, have a distinct advantage to finish off this game.
And now they have the Roshan too. They denied the Roshan in the Aegis from Wild, and if Wild had at least gotten their hands on that, it would have given them a bigger hand in these team fights. But now they don't have that. They're gonna have to deal with the Lifestealer twice in these fights. And how do you do that? Once this black hole is up in another 85 seconds, we're going to see such a brutal team fight out of Revenge that I don't know how Wild is going to be able to survive through it. And they can't turtle. We saw Revenge turtle, and they could do that with their lineup. But Wild can't do that. And now Masuku on the top lane might just get picked off here from Andrew. He might have to try and BKB and TP out of here, but his TP is actually on cooldown. The reinforcements arrive from Wild. We need to see reinforcements from Revenge's side, but there are none. The Enigma does go down. He's going to be out for 50 seconds. He can buy back if he needs to, but I don't think he needs to ever. I think they're fine.
Dagon actually used up against Andrew Riley. Chen forced to throw out an ultimate, and now a team fight evolving over in the base. They have Theory there, has ported back through. Benjaz in a lot of trouble. Cold Snap just tearing his life away. He may yet go down and expend that Aegis, but that's all it would be, as Mihawk is now the next target. Able to hookshot. Huge getaway plan for him, but Viper saying, no sir, as cute as that play was, he is not going to get away. And Revenge taking just one single casualty and not even expending an Aegis. Infest by Benjaz has been spent away with God's Hand in pursuit, not able to lock him down any further. He does expend a drum charge, not knowing exactly the full extent of the situation, but instead he will get away nonetheless. I would still say victory for Revenge there. Even though they lost only one right on top of that tower, it stifled Wild's momentum in taking the top tower yet again. And we're at the point of the game where Revenge can almost just have a single Venomancer push back this entire wave. And really just counterpunch so incredibly quick with Lifestealer's Rage, attack speed increase. Nero caught out River, Smash in pursuit. He's going to have his ultimate expend, and Enigma with Masoku blinks on in, stuns him up, and will cancel that port. So while the ultimate was up and would have afforded him the time, a stun comes through timely enough and counters his getaway, and Wild still in a lot of trouble, struggling to come up with answers for what Revenge has been doing to them in this entire game. And the Dagon against Andrew, I have to say, in that last team fight was quite effective.
I really like the timing on Malefice there. He didn't fire it off immediately to cancel the TP. He knew how long the TP would take. But hold on. Hold that thought. As Spin Jazz in some trouble, Masuku goes in with a two-man black hole once again. Blink comes in from Smash. And now they're going to try and turn this around. They're ready. Theory taking a big beating here. He tries to get away. Does not succeed in doing so. Andrew blasted down again with that Dagon. As note, is level 5 now ever, so not much is going to survive through that. It's back in another 6 seconds, and we might just see it used on Invoker. Smash chasing him down, decides to go for the creeps instead. A Cyclone is thrown out in the process, but back to what I was saying about the timing from Invoker, or from the Enigma. I liked it just because it made it so he knew it'd get canceled. But if they didn't cancel and let him just keep TPing, the borrowed time was going to continue ticking down. So it would just make it so that they could kill him faster when the TP was actually canceled. So kind of some neat timing there out of that Enigma's Malefice.
Now the push still forthcoming from Revenge. They have every right to finish this game. They've done such a good job going so far leading up. Smash, unstoppable streak will go down though. And Mihawk, excuse me, I was about to say Misoku, as he was both... having them follow up on that bottom side attempt to initiate, but it seems like Revenge is in a lot of trouble. The melee Rax isn't down. Good deafening blast. Aegis expend. Lifestealer needs to finish off this Rax at bare minimum if he goes down, but instead applies Abyssal to Andrew, and I don't think that was a strategy. Finally, he recognizes that he can't take him down, turns over, takes down the melee Rax, attempts to port away, and it gets taken down as a result, but still, victory for Revenge there, and the fact that they were able to get a barracks down, and I don't think that Wild has the fortitude or the heroes, for that matter, to push uphill onto a tier 3 against Revenge. They have about a 50-second window right now. Taking a look over at buybacks, they even have buybacks on both heroes, which are down right now, and therefore this will not allow Wild to get a lot of momentum going. They just are struggling to come up with answers for what Revenge is doing, and although their team fight and positioning has been pretty stellar, if I do say so, Wild still needed to finish this game in a particular window, and I don't know if they've managed to do that just yet. 20 seconds timer remaining, and they look to bite back against Revenge, and I think they're just recognizing now that they might have to go for it regardless with the black hole down still.
At least the black hole is down. The Aegis has been popped as well. You still have time. There are buybacks, but the countdown is low enough now that they're just going to wait it out. The tower had full HP, so they definitely have the time to do so. They do switch to the top lane where the tower was pretty hurt to begin with, and they're going to try and take a Rax of their own. But again, black hole, another 25 seconds, they're going to have to deal with just the right click and the damage over time alone, and they're going just head first into this. Theory, look at that damage out of Nakes. 2 hits and Theory goes down to about half HP. Smash throws out his ultimate, that doesn't really do too much. Mihawk jumps in with the hook shot. Silence comes down onto Andrew. He's trying to get away. They might be able to take him down, but he's pretty tanky. In the meantime, the rest of the team splits up from him. Masuku going in. He has the black hole now. Can he land one? He needs the blink dagger to be undisabled, but another ultimate. Sorry, I guess that was an ultimate
That
before I was
Dagon.
Smash.
Good God. No, Smash just Dagon down again, Andrew. He can't do anything against it, and I get that it's not proccing his armor, but it's just absurd that Dagon has been worked into a strategy, and he's actually going for shotgun Dagon right now against this Wild squad. I think Wild just hasn't had an opportunity necessarily to make efficient use of their farm. Andrew definitely dominated the map early on, but they needed to 5-man and get the money through towers early and close out, but even if we weren't in this position where they had the ability to counter prior to that, I still don't think, had a successful counter occurred, that they would be in a position to necessarily win the game. And it's unfortunate. With as well as they've played and positioned themselves, it's hard to grasp the fact that a draft can play this heavily into games and normally doesn't. God's Hand trying to delay the inevitable here on this top tower, throws up Tornado, delaying, throws up an EMP as well, and still not able to stop the tower from going down. Deafening Blast connects to 2, including Smash, who gets sheeped away, and that sheep now on cooldown for another 30 seconds prompts Revenge to go back instead of forward so far. Waiting for their 5th member to kind of get in here. Masoku, 2-man black hole yet again, looking for the 3rd, misses God's Hand, but that's all they necessarily need. Andrew Riley about to go down. Good Timber Chain for him to get away, and Tornado to back him up on 3. Again, Wild trying to battle back, doing all the right things, but they don't seem to have the damage to get them over the hill. Smash barely clinging on to life. Masoku finally goes down, and Smash still a relevant part of this fight, and Andrew just recognizes that if he goes down, it's pretty much over for all intents and purposes. They call the GG, and that is it for game one. What a weird turn of events. Wild not able to close out what looked like a sure victory for them early on, and Revenge battling back due to some lane cuts.
It was a very small window, honestly, for Wild to be able to finish that up. Maybe at like 15 minutes if they had just constantly pushed down towers and stuff. But I still feel like Revenge spread out their farm so well between the Nakes and the Shadow Fiend that they would have still been able to get that farm in places soon enough to be able to contend against Wild. And it was a good effort on Wild's part, but Revenge does take game one. We still have one more game coming up, possibly two, you guys, so stick around. We're going to have this lobby filled up very quickly, and we will be back pretty shortly. Be sure to hit a follow on the Twitch channel if you like our casting and like what CEVO has to provide to you guys. This tournament is not going anywhere. We have such a big season in Season 4 and some really decent teams coming into it as well. So very exciting stuff here in this season. $5,000 prize pool, which is absolutely awesome. As for myself and Ever, if you guys enjoy our casting, please feel free to follow us on Twitter. I am at ProveDota. You can find Ever at EverX.